Welcome to Military Expert. Each clip in this collection captures a plane crash or aviation emergency as it happened, but the camera often catches more than we notice at first. In every case, we'll highlight the details that matter, changes in attitude, speed, sound, or pilot response, then explain what the footage can and cannot prove, using official information where available. Watch closely. Let's begin. October 5th, 2025, Passo do Lumiar, Brazil. An Embraer Seneca lost directional control while landing, left the runway, and struck the ground. A fire started after the 6 occupants escaped. 2 had minor injuries, 4 were unhurt. CNIPA confirmed a loss of control on the ground. The final cause has not been determined. Directional control must be maintained throughout the landing roll. September 30th, 2025, Santo Domingo, Dominican Republic. A sky-high Dominicana Embraer 190 was returning from a test flight when its nose gear would not extend. After 2 low passes and about 30 minutes of troubleshooting, the crew landed on the main gear and slowly lowered the nose. All 7 crew members were unhurt. The preliminary report confirms that a failure prevented the nose gear from extending, but the exact fault remains under investigation. The low passes and holding time allowed the crew to verify the problem and prepare the landing. September 5th, 2025, Guadarranque Reservoir, near Castellar de la Frontera, Spain. A Bell 412 was training for a firefighting water pickup with 2 crew members aboard. Watch the bucket. As it entered the water, the helicopter suddenly rolled right and fell into the reservoir, sinking about 15 meters from shore. Both crew members escaped uninjured. Investigators have not confirmed the cause. The key detail is the timing. The roll began as the bucket entered the water. During a low-level water pickup, there is almost no height available to recover from a sudden roll. September 3rd, 2025, Arad, Brazil. An Embraer Seneca diverted there after its left main landing gear failed to extend on approach to Canarana. The pilot circled to burn fuel, then landed on runway 10. As the aircraft slowed, it leaned left the paved surface, and stopped in the grass. All 5 occupants were unhurt. CENIPA has not published the technical cause of the failure. The key decision was not to force the first landing. The pilot reduced fuel and chose an airport with better emergency support. August 28th, 2025, Alto Alegre, Brazil. A Cessna 182 struck the crane arm of a truck while attempting to land on a farm beside Highway BR 174. The impact tore off a wheel and damaged the fuselage. The aircraft tried to climb away, but came down in nearby forest and was found abandoned. No final aviation report has been published. Police found its registration altered with tape and only the pilot's seat installed, raising suspicion of support for illegal mining. That link has not been proven. The key detail is the first impact. The aircraft was already damaged before it tried to climb away. July 22nd, 2026, Lake Hood, Anchorage, Alaska. A wheel-equipped Cessna 180 took off for Merrill Field. Moments later, the pilot reported a loss of engine power. The pilot tried to return, but the aircraft could not maintain altitude and crash-landed near the airstrip. Both occupants survived. One was taken to hospital with minor injuries. The exact reason for the power loss is still under investigation. The critical detail is the attempted return. Turning back at low altitude requires enough height and airspeed, and the NTSB has not yet said whether that margin was available. August 22nd, 2025. Rocinos de la Requejada, Spain. An air tractor fire boss returned from a wildfire mission with damage to one float. After circling for about an hour to reduce fuel, the pilot made an emergency landing. The float collapsed on touchdown, but the pilot was unhurt. The cause of the damage still hasn't been officially confirmed. What this shows is how fast the aircraft can tip once one side loses support. Was there a safer option? Tell me in the comments. August 14th, 2025. Battery Beach, Durban, South Africa. During an air show, an Extra 300 began a descending series of left aileron rolls over the ocean. The preliminary report says the maneuver started at 1,700 feet, instead of the planned 2,200. After 5 rolls, the aircraft leveled off just before hitting the water. The pilot did not survive. The final cause has not been determined, but one detail stands out. Starting 500 feet lower left, far less room to recover. In low-level aerobatics, that margin can disappear in seconds. August 12th, 2025. Karbala, Iraq. An Iraqi Army Eurocopter developed a technical problem while supporting security operations for pilgrims. The crew made a forced landing in a parking lot. The helicopter received minor damage and struck a parked vehicle, but no one on board or on the ground was injured. Officials have not identified the exact failure. The key decision was using the nearest open space. In a crowded city, damaging a vehicle is far better than putting people nearby at risk. August 12th, 2025. Lake Geneva, near La Pichette Harbor in Corso, Switzerland. An ICP Savannah S began losing altitude while returning to Bex. The pilot headed toward the shore and ditched close to land. When the fixed landing gear touched the water, the aircraft flipped onto its back and slowly sank. Both occupants escaped with minor injuries and were rescued by a nearby boat. The reason for the altitude loss has not been confirmed. The video shows a major ditching risk. Fixed wheels can catch the water like brakes, pitching the aircraft forward almost instantly. August 9th, 2025, Arad, Romania. A Zenair Zodiac was approaching Arad Airport when the right side of its canopy suddenly opened. Investigators found that the retaining pin had broken away from a defective, corroded weld. The uneven opening disrupted the airflow and made the aircraft uncontrollable. It came down in a factory yard, and neither person on board survived. The aircraft had no secondary canopy latch, despite a manufacturer safety alert. Investigators recommended adding one to this model, so a single failed pin cannot turn into a complete loss of control. August 1st, 2025. Merrill Field, Anchorage, Alaska. A Cessna Grand Caravan approached runway 34 on a steep, straight-in descent, still too fast for the short runway. It touched down near midfield. Reverse thrust and heavy braking were not enough. The aircraft broke through the fence, crossed 6 lanes of traffic, and stopped in a field. The aircraft was substantially damaged, but all 8 people were unhurt. The NTSB concluded that the accident was caused by continuing an unstabilized approach. Once the airplane was high and fast, the safe option was a go-around. Brakes and reverse thrust cannot give back runway already passed. July 22nd, 2025, Whitman Field, Oshkosh, Wisconsin. During the home build showcase, a Dyke Delta landed with a variable tailwind and touched down about 2,500 feet along the runway. The aircraft bounced, landed hard, and veered left during braking. The right main gear collapsed and the nose gear broke away. The pilot was not injured. The NTSB found no mechanical failure and blamed the loss of control while landing with a tailwind. That wind increased the ground speed, so the bounce and hard touchdown left less time to settle the airplane before braking. July 21st, 2025. Near Lowell City Airport in Lowell, Michigan. A Vans RV-14A entered a descending turn while approaching the airport. It struck a storage building less than half a mile from runway 12. Neither person on board survived. One detail matters here. Witnesses saw no smoke or flames and heard no unusual engine sounds. But that does not prove the engine was healthy. The cause remains under investigation. July 11th, 2025, Antwerp International Airport, Belgium. A Max Holste MH1521 Broussard lost its left main wheel during takeoff from nearby Broussard airfield. The pilot spent about 2 hours burning fuel, then landed safely at Antwerp. Both people on board were unharmed. The preparation mattered. Less fuel meant less landing weight, and emergency crews were ready. The aircraft received only minor damage. Why the wheels separated has not been publicly established. July 1st, 2025, near Courtenay Air Park in British Columbia, Canada. A Vans aircraft, model RV-6A, ran out of fuel and landed safely on a mudflat. After the aircraft was refueled, the passenger stayed behind. The pilot then tried to take off from the same soft ground. During the takeoff roll, mud became packed around the wheels. The front landing gear broke, and the aircraft tipped forward. The pilot was not hurt. The emergency landing had worked, but trying to take off from the mud caused the damage.
I knew it.
Oh no.
June 22nd, 2025. Near Pearl Beach, in Clay Township, Michigan. An Airbus H-130 helicopter was landing in a field with 4 people on board. As the skids touched down, the tail dropped. The pilot increased lift and pushed the control forward, and the helicopter rolled onto its side. Everyone escaped without injury. Investigators found no mechanical failure. The pilot's attempt to correct the tail drop triggered a dynamic rollover. The NTSB concluded that control was not maintained during the landing. June 19th, 2025, Seyhan Dam Lake in southern Turkey. An air tractor 802 Fireboss was collecting water for a firefighting mission. During the water run, the aircraft overturned and came to rest upside down. The pilot and the Turkish observer escaped without help. A police boat brought them ashore, and neither was injured. The important detail is when it happened, while the aircraft was still collecting water before it could lift away. No official report has established why control was lost.
Copy.
June 12th, 2025, North Las Vegas Airport, Nevada. A Socata Trinidad arrived with its landing gear stuck inside. Both the normal and emergency extension systems failed. A police helicopter confirmed that every wheel was still up. The pilot landed on runway 12 right. All 4 people were unharmed. That outside check removed any doubt about a faulty cockpit light and allowed the pilot to prepare. The exact mechanical failure has not been published.
Hello, 2 Brutus request up to runway 12 right, full lane via Charlie. Runway 286, have emergency vehicles coming out to you now.
June 15th, 2025. Astir Marina, near Athens, Greece. A twin-engine Eurocopter lifted into a low hover with 5 people aboard. Only 1 or 2 meters above the pad, it began turning and could not hold its height. The front right side struck the sea. Everyone escaped, with no serious injuries. Investigators have confirmed a loss of control during takeoff, but not why it happened. Reports blaming wind, weight, power, or pilot error remain unproven.